First and Now is the official BC Lions podcast, off to Edmonton this week. Second time this year, third and final meeting. Matt Baker, Nick Kowalski, and Nick, we're going to treat this podcast like it's the 3-minute warning, okay? It doesn't look like there's a lot of time left, but there's a lot of time to discuss things. We're in stoppage time here. Inside of 3 minutes, we have to clutch up, and we're going to have a Terry Williams-like episode here. We needed a few days. For those expecting this episode earlier in the week, not to worry, it's here now. We're going to talk about the Elks, but first things first, we simply must take a dive on what we witnessed at Save On Foods Field at BC Place. Where were you on September 16th, 2023? We know where we were. The largest fourth quarter comeback, well, tied for it at least in franchise history. Down 19, get it done. It had it all. Nick, what's happening?
Yeah, when you mentioned we're on to Edmonton, I was going to say you buried the lead because comeback of the year on Saturday. We got to talk about this. Just incredible that this team pulled it off, and a much needed win. We talked about how important that game was when it came to the standings, and I mean not falling to another Eastern team that's sub 500, right? Like what happened a couple weeks earlier at BC Place, and they did it. They took everybody, and they all did it. Don't
bury though. That's my broadcast instructors. Shout out to BCIT Online Broadcast Journalism. Great program. They ingrained that into us several times over the course of the 2 years. Yeah, and so I clearly wasn't taking the advice of my great instructors, but yeah, it's funny. And if you flash back to earlier, Vernon with the 3 interceptions, the third of which, or was it the second or third? I can't even remember. My head is still spinning.
I got you. What are you talking about?
The pick six.
Pick six is the second one.
Second one, that's right. Yeah, the third.
Back-to-back throws, though.
Yeah, so I went to Coleman. Douglas Coleman took it back for a touchdown. So you're thinking you could just feel the wind coming out of the proverbial sails inside that stadium. And you're right. Here we go again. Lost by 17 to Hamilton the previous home game, and this one, and all the elements of it. I mean, Winnipeg losing, you're going to blow a chance here to make up some ground in this race for first place, but lo and behold, keep fighting. And if you want to talk to even before the 3-minute warning, well, I guess it was inside of it, though, my bad, but before Terry's return, the Justin McInnes touchdown to get them to within 10, that's a third down play.
And
that's
long.
That's a third and goal from the 8, was it?
Yeah, third and long.
That doesn't happen. It's game over. It's nothing else. Nothing else after that happened has the chance to occur. So the fight, the resiliency, you heard Rick Campbell talk about it post-game and earlier this week at practice about how Vernon's the type of guy, he isn't going to quit. Not every quarterbacks have that killer instinct in them, but there was plenty of plays. Everyone's talking about Terry and Lucky with the touchdown catch, but Mr. McInnes deserves his kudos.
Oh, yeah, he was the primary target all game. He had led the team with 12, goes for over 118 yards, scored the touchdown in the second quarter as well to find the end zone twice. And he's someone, we've talked about it a lot. He's been having to fill in for Keon Hatcher, fill in for Dominic Grimes right now. He's filled in for Lucky Whitehead prior in the season, and he's kind of came in seamlessly. I think about the last time we went to Edmonton where he scores the only, or that was one of 2 passing touchdowns that he was on the receiving end of. And now
before halftime, yeah.
Yeah, now he has, I think, 4 on the year now, and I think he's playing like a Dominic Grimes in a sense of using his tall frame and winning jump balls and being a bailout for the quarterback. And he's been, one of the best free agent signings that no one's really talked about up until now.
And yeah, you and me both, when that one occurred, it's like, okay, this is solid. He had a big game against us with Saskatchewan a year ago. But where does he slot in this lineup? But thankfully, he's been great stepping in terms of replacing the injured Dominique Rhymes. And Rhymes is expected to return against Saskatchewan a week from now. McInnes will stay on the roster. Rick Campbell all but confirming that. I was sitting in on his little production Zoom meeting with the TSN broadcast crew, and Glenn Suter asked him about that, and he basically said, not to worry. We'll find a way to keep him on, even if it's in a reserve backup role, and they're going to have to come up with some packages for him. But that, to me, has been a great storyline of this whole Lions season, Nick. We started this year talking about Keon Hatcher, Rhymes, Lucky Whitehead, Alexander Hollins. Almost all these guys have battled injuries, right? I mean, Hatch missed the first few weeks with his foot, and Rhymes has had ailments. Lucky Whitehead's missed 2 or 3 games, but that has allowed everyone on this receiving core to step up. And it's a tribute to Rick, Neal, and the Brass for identifying that and getting him here.
Yeah, it's just
talking
funny
about McInnes.
It's funny how things play out too, because I remember back in about March we were breaking down the receivers on this roster, and we're saying, okay, it's probably Jacob Scarfone and Justin McInnes battling for that last spot, right? And
right.
Obviously Scarfone retires. Alex Hollins throughout training camp and preseason and during the season, you can't take him out of the starting lineup, so the team had to go with 4 Americans, which ultimately bumped McInnes down out of the starting lineup. But I mean, it's a great problem to have when you have 6-7 guys deep at receiver who can all ball. They've all proven it, and it's come in handy too, right? With the depth, and like we're talking about with Rhymes out, Whitehead out, Hatcher out at times. Like McInnes has had to step in every spot, and he's done an excellent job.
All right, let's be real here. Terry's return. I fully admit I was getting ready to head off. I mean, Lewis Ward had hit a couple of 50-plus long field goals already, and late in the game, have to get ready for post-game, media obligations, everything, make sure the media room and everything is ready, the TV lights are on. So I figure, okay, maybe we can afford to sort of get ready to go do this early. But sure enough, I'm watching as I'm walking, and I see, okay, missed. All right, so you take a single, we're going to be down 11, and you still need 2 scores and a 2-point convert, but let's see if Terry's going to run it out. Let's see if he can at least get some field position, and no, he might have something here. He stayed in bounds. I made another guy miss. He's taken this to the house. All of a sudden, it's game on. It's convert pending. We're going to be down 3 here with still over a minute to play. I don't want to say I wasn't expecting it to happen, because I even said in our game trailer, is this the week?
He was due.
So maybe I should have had more faith, but thankfully I did witness it. I didn't leave the field like I was contemplating. And once that happened, you just got the sense that we were somehow going to pull it out after that.
Well, even moments before that, the McInnes touchdown makes it 37-27, makes it a 10-point game, 2 possessions, obviously, because they didn't get the 2-point convert, so they have to kick an onside. We don't get the onside, and it's 2-0 or die, right, at that point? Because from there, Lewis Ward's pretty much automatic, but from 50, even the best kickers in the world are going to miss from time to time, like Lewis did, right? And he put that 10 yards deep wide from 51 or whatever, so it's not like he didn't have the leg. And yeah, Terry, he's been long overdue. His first professional touchdown. His fiance's family was in town for the first time ever too. So that's just a crazy coincidence that he does that with that family in attendance. But I mean, that just provided a spark, and that's when really the chaos and the heart started pumping, and started
the adrenaline's going. Yeah,
that's when at that moment when Terry's crossing the pay dirt, that's when it really started kicking. Okay, we can do this, and a lot of things still had to happen, and. I mean, the team kicks deep after that too. So it's a funny after that return. Our shooters on the sideline. I'm usually around Ryan, who's been a freelance shooter for us, and I'm telling her, okay, stay around the 50-yard line here, because I don't even know if they're going to onside it or to kick it deep. I was going back and forth on what obviously kicking it deep was the right call.
Yes, knowing what we know now.
But I'm telling Ryan, I'm like, hey, Ryan, like if they onside it, it's coming right to you. I'm going to go deep. I'm going to go about the 10-yard line and make sure I'm deep just in case it happens, and then get the 2-0 from there, right?
Yeah, and then you can even go back earlier. I know some people were wondering why. There was a situation when it was 37-21 earlier in the fourth quarter where Rick elected to go for it and not kick a field goal to get them within 13. They got stopped, and it's like, okay, maybe that's when you start to think, okay, maybe it's not our night. Went for it, couldn't score. We're still down 16, still need 2 touchdowns and 2 twos just to force overtime. But the Terry return just kind of flip the whole thing around on a dime. Because you do the math, you kick the field goal there, you're down 13, still with plenty of time left. 2 touchdowns, 2 scores, you win the game potentially. So, but that was the butterfly effect of that decision to go for it and not get it. It sets the tone for what happens, right? And just, I've been a part of a couple of crazy comebacks. The only one that came close to that, and maybe that one was just as good, September 2018 against Hamilton, when was the deficit 14 points or 15 points maybe in the fourth quarter. The infamous Brian Burnham toe tap game, catching it, falling it. It was initially ruled incomplete, but they reviewed it and he was in. And we got the 2-point conversion to force overtime as well before Ty Long walked it off. That was probably before this one, the craziest comeback I ever been a part of. There was a 19-point fourth quarter Lions comeback in history. Shout out to John Perlberg of the TSN stats crew for sending me this message the other night, because we kept saying it was the biggest. It was, but it was tied for the biggest. The Lions trailed Hamilton 33-14 in September 1997 in the fourth quarter, but Damon Allen came back and led the team to victory. You weren't born yet, obviously, in 1997, but
Nope.
I remember that. I would have been in the 8th grade. I remember listening to that game on the radio, J. Paul McConnell.
Well, what week was it? You said 97?
1997. It was around the same time of year, September.
So, I mean, my birthday is October 1st, so I was probably right in that bubble.
You were just knocking on, trying to come out.
I was close.
Yeah, you were close. And what was crazy about that year was Hamilton was terrible that year. They were 2-16 that year, the Ticats were. And, there was no social media back then, but you can imagine, it's like, okay, this Lions team is going to lose to Hamilton in this fashion. And 1997, I think, was Damon Allen's first full year as the starter. And the Lions were a crossover playoff team that year, lost to Montreal in the division semifinal. But that was tied, and tied for the second overall comeback. The Lions, comebacks of any kind, not fourth quarter, 20 back in 2004 in Montreal. Dave Dickinson led a big comeback for the 2004 Lions. So we can sort of say we worked and witnessed history.
I would say so. And that final drive too, Terry Williams sets it up again, right? Like going back to that 2-0, Sione Tuihama.
I thought he might have something else going. He got to midfield.
He said he saw the hole. His body couldn't keep up to his mind at that time. I guess running 120 yards a couple minutes before, but it was funny too, because there was the first play of that final drive too. Like I think we needed about 15 yards to get Sean White comfortable in range to try and tie it. But VA hits McInnes for, I don't know what the gain was, but it was at least 20. Yeah. And it's right on the sideline. And there's a pretty lengthy review. So at that time too, like I'm in the end zone. I'm thinking, okay, if we walk it off, I have to be in the end zone, to capture that. I'm texting Liam to say, hey, if it's you go on the other side of the end zone, but if we go field goal, you have to run to the sideline and make sure and you get the field goal reaction from the sideline. So I'm kind of trying to cover my bases there. We have Ryan on the other side of the end zone too, as like a wider shot to make sure.
This is why we have 3-4 shooters at a game,
and
right?
It all worked out. If you watch the recap video we did, we have Ryan's shot and my own shot too for that game winner, and then the sideline stuff where you see with Dominique Grimes and VA and Renee going crazy with Lucky, that's all Liam's shots too, right? So that's where that comes in luxury, but just the atmosphere after that, insane. And Lucky running the crowd. Yep,
and then once the roughing the passer happens after the McInnes catch, you think, okay, we're going for the forget overtime. Let's score. Let's get out of here. Because again, overtime, anything can happen. You've got 2 tired teams, right? Ottawa's been on their heels, and our team's asserted all this energy just getting it to this point. Let's score. Let's get the touchdown. And good on Lucky Whitehead. Been waiting for him to sort of get back. Not that he hasn't been contributing, but to have a big moment like that. Again, this is a player who was injured during the playoff run last year, has battled injuries this year, and in his first year with the Lions, he missed some key games down the stretch when the 2021 team was trying to make the playoffs. 1-2 more wins that year down the stretch. They're in the playoffs. Not saying that they go all the way by any stretch, because Winnipeg was the juggernaut, and the team was winless against Saskatchewan, but again, all these seasons come down to 2-3 games if they go the other way. And this Ottawa win, for example, if this Lions team, again, very much in control of their destiny for first place, if we get first place on a tiebreaker or by 2 points, you look back at this comeback, right? It's the whole outlook changes. Lions, again, there was some confusion. We thought for a while we would have clinched last week with a win. Not the case. We're not going to get into the complicated scenario as to what would prevent us from getting there because it's just so remote and stupid. It's not going to happen. But a win by the Lions in Edmonton or a loss by Calgary. They host Montreal on Saturday, and the Lions are in the playoffs officially. 2 more wins. Win this week, beat Saskatchewan next week. We get the home game as well.
You'll love to hear it. Yeah, it's crunch time. I know it's the one game at a time mantra, but I mean these next 2 home games. If there's any 2 home games you want to come to BC Place for this season, it's those 2, right?
Yeah.
September 29th and October 6th, Friday nights, Sask and Winnipeg back to back. Those are shaping up to be both massive games. And even this week too, I know it's out in Edmonton. So if you're a BC Lions fan in Alberta, you should come out to see 2 of the hottest QBs in the CFL battling it out right now. But it's just exciting time, and fall's in the air now. I think here, like the weather's changing. It's just everything feels good.
Got up this morning. It was clear and crisp, and leaves falling down. Nice, very nice autumn day on the wall. It's still officially summer for 2 more days as we record this on Wednesday.
True.
Or 1 more day, is it? Whatever it is. But yeah, the football's getting more serious on this side of the border. Yeah, we'll hit on it here for a few minutes. Lions, Elks again. Lions looking to punch the playoff tickets. 2 wins against Edmonton, 2 shutouts, 49-0 aggregate scores. If you or 48-0, I believe it was. Was it 22-0 and 26-0, or was it 27-0? 27, 49. So I had it right. If you like the soccer aggregate situation, which we're not going to actually use here, but this is a much different Edmonton team. Trey Ford, 6 starts, 5 starts, whatever it is. He's rushed for at least 50 yards. Of course, he had the 135 yards on the ground in the Labor Day loss in Calgary. Edmonton has played really, really superb football. And they have a pretty good game on the ground with Kevin Brown talking about the running game. But I'm excited to see Trey Ford. I don't know about you. This I'm just excited to see it up close, and hopefully the defense buckles down and they know what kind of challenge they have.
Well, I don't wish him success. on
not at all. But I'm just looking forward to seeing what it's all about.
It's been electric the last 6 or so weeks with Trey Ford, that's for sure. And they got Geno Lewis back too. I know we saw him in the home opener, but that first visit to Edmonton, Geno was not in the lineup, and now there was Manny Arsenault who's back for them too. So Trey has no shortage of weapons either now with Kevin Brown as running back, eclipsing 1,000 rushing yards on the season. They're a dual threat, those two, and going against Trey, I think DCs will tell you, like, you literally have to change the way you game plan, the way you scheme up your defense, and it's going to be interesting to see what Ryan Phillips and this defense cooks up. I know they've proven to be able to come up and rise to any task before, and this is a brand new task with an athlete at quarterback who is also able to escape the pocket and then make a dot of a throw too. So it's a deadly combo for the Elks. I'm not predicting a shutout this game. I don't think it's going to be the third one. I think we're going to be It's going to be a tough one against the Elks on offense. But I mean, we'll see. But we got Vernon back this game too. That's another aspect that I think that he wasn't there obviously last.
Dane Evans got the win. Yeah.
So I think having Vernon is going to be massive. So I don't know. A shootout may be coming in this one.
Yeah, and I. This team has proved it can win the shootouts, as we just saw against Ottawa. And here's what I think. Dustin Crum's a guy who can scramble a little bit too, right?
Well, yeah.
He had close to 50 on the ground. I think it was 9 carries for 46, couple of rushing touchdowns. So maybe that's a template in their film study this week when they review that game. That can help. And we talked to Matthew Betts after practice earlier this week, and he said it best. He's like, it can't just be one of us 12 on defense worrying about that. Everyone has to mind their P's and Q's, worry about their responsibilities. And if they can get back to having the pass rush that they had at the first half of the season, make Edmonton's offensive line a little unsure in their schemes, a little bit uncomfortable, that's going to be a major part of it.
Yeah, and I think the D-line's got to be aware, or any pass rushers got to be aware that if you got to work in tandem, right? You can't just have one guy flying at Trey, because he's proven to be able to make a guy miss in that situation and then escape and make a play for his offense. So it's a matter of just containing Trey, working together. Like I said, can't shoot up field, making sure that he's contained and forcing him inside if possible. But I'm sure it's keeping RP up this week of how to deal with Trey Ford.
Yeah, and they're going to have a plan for him. We're going to be anxious to see how that is. And again, if Edmonton gets ahead, we know this is a Lions team who doesn't get phased necessarily playing from behind. You look at not even just the Ottawa game, but the Saskatchewan loss, where
Montreal,
made a heck of
Montreal too.
Yeah, Montreal, all those lead changes. So I'm looking forward to this. It's a chance to sweep Edmonton for a second straight year. Would clinch a winning season, would clinch a playoff spot, and would officially continue to keep heat on the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who have a bye before facing Toronto. Very quickly, I was impressed with how Josh Woods filled in at will linebacker in place of the absent Bo Lacumbo. Had the early interception that kind of became a footnote in the game.
Yeah.
But it was Manny Rugamba got the deflection, and it also allowed them to work Ryder Varga into the old Josh Woods role in the rotation at will. So the Lions' depth on defense, Nick, is really starting to show well here too.
Yeah, those two linebackers combining for 9 tackles in the win on Saturday. Josh with 5, Ryder with 4. Ryder also got credit for a sack in the win too, as Ben Haladik also did too in the second quarter on Crum. And then, we still saw the same thing with the defensive line too, where it was like the line change rotations. We saw Nick Escher had a big tackle for a loss, contributing now on the defensive line where they're rotating these guys in. So It's good to see everyone getting their chance to see the field and making the most of it. One other guy I want to shout out too is Adrian Green. 4 special teams tackles on Saturday and a blocked punt. So he's someone who's developed tremendously in his second season in the CFL. Someone who's also got the odd look at safety and at corner too, and some spots this year. So someone I'm looking forward to seeing keep on developing.
Yep, depth is key, like we talked about with the reasons for the McInnes signing and some of those Canadians on defense. A shout out to Rob Ralph and everybody working the Canadian draft room the last couple years, because that is integral to your playoff and your Grey Cup aspirations. Lions and Elks at 6:30. We've talked a bit about Terry Williams. Check out BC Lions on tap this week. We had them live at Legends Pub in Richmond. Ourselves and the Moj. Subscribe to the Lions Audio Network podcast feed to get the Terry interview. 6:30 Friday, AM 7:30 pregame, 5:30. Quickly talk about these 3 other games before we're done here. We're the second half of a doubleheader once again. Saskatchewan in Ottawa. We'll have a bit of a keen eye on that one, as we do have a bit of distance from the Rough Riders as far as a top 2 spot. Again, the Lions win these next 2, we're guaranteed the home game. But interested to see how the Red Blacks respond from that collapse at BC Place. Ottawa home to Saskatchewan. And again, Ottawa keeps losing all these games inside of 3 minutes. Something's got to give here at some point. They got to pull one of these out.
Yeah, the main storyline for this one has to be how Ottawa responds, right? And just seeing this Red Blacks team, and even speaking with a guy like Terry Williams, who was on the Red Blacks roster last year, like you see Bob Dice as their head coach, and I think it's pretty obvious that he is the right person for this job. Terry was saying that too, that he's a guy you want to play for and a true leader at the head coach position. So I wouldn't expect this Red Blacks team to pack it in, although they're 3 games back of the final playoff spot in the East now. I think 4 maybe with tiebreakers.
Yeah, they're essentially 8 points out because they've lost the season series to Hamilton.
But if you want to use the anything is possible mantra with what happened to us on Saturday, what happened to them on Saturday, they still have a shot. It's not over till it's over.
Have to run the table and get help. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it can be done, right? So just seeing how the Red Blacks bounce back is interesting to me, and see if they can give us some help in the process.
Then we have a doubleheader Saturday. Montreal, losers of 4 in a row, and in ugly fashion with the Fajardo interception, and there was some special teams difference making plays in that one. Montreal in Calgary, the Stampeders. Okay, speaking of teams that pretty much have to run the table, they're coming off a bye. They no doubt had a lot of soul searching after falling in Edmonton in the Labor Day rematch. But I'm curious to see how Montreal responds here, Nick. Again, they had a tight grip on second in the East, but now they're tied with Hamilton. So the Alouettes got to put together a bit of a streak here if they want to keep up their home playoff aspirations. They have to clinch first. They're still a ways off from doing that at 6 and 7. But again, unless Ottawa makes some real noise, Montreal and Hamilton are likely going to be in, as they have some distance from Calgary for a possible crossover spot. But Montreal and Calgary, two teams desperate for wins here.
The Owls are a dang good 6-7 team. I'll say that. They have 7 losses, but they've been to 3 teams. They've been to us, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the Toronto Argonauts.
Yeah, they're 0-6 combined against those 3 teams, I think, right?
0-7.
0-7. Are all 7?
All 7. 3 to Toronto, 2 to us, and 2 to Winnipeg.
There you go. I forgot. Yeah, they went home and home with Toronto just recently. That's right.
And they've taken the Argos to pretty much the final whistle on 2 of those 3 losses.
Yeah.
So they're right there with
2
them.
home losses to them,
I mean,
right?
with us, too. They played us really tough. So I would not take Montreal lightly. They're still, at the end of the day, they're still battling for a home playoff game at this point. So I wouldn't say they're by any means finished or anything. But yeah, for Calgary, it's kind of now or never for them. And then if Calgary can get it done here, they play the Rough Riders on October 13th. They host them. And that's not only the tiebreaker, but that's probably their season too, right? When it comes to
that'll come down to
final spot. So Calgary has to go on a run, and I mean, we've seen Jake Maier. He's putting up yards, but I know they would trade that for wins, right?
Yeah, he's second, just ahead of VA in the passing yard totals. He is Jake Maier, and this is a big few weeks for him. Again, they hitched their wagon to this guy in benching Bo Levi Mitchell last year, and ultimately moving his rights to the Tiger Cats. So. And speaking of Bo Levi, what are they going to do when he's healthy? Because Taylor Powell, been very impressive. 6-7 Hamilton, again, now tied with Montreal. Hamilton in Toronto on Saturday, 4:00 p.m. our time. And I'm interested to see how the Argos play this situation. They have clinched first place in the East. They know they're going to be home field again in the Eastern Final in November. And I heard a Chad Kelly interview last week, I think, saying he wants to play all these games. I'm guessing he'll be rested eventually because simply you have to with all this time. But I'm interested to see the Argos and how they approach this. They, of course, are going to Winnipeg next week. That'll be a heavyweight battle. Andrew Harris finally making a return to IG Field, but we'll talk about that another day. Hamilton clearly needs this one more, and they're motivated after winning 3 of 4.
Yeah, Scott Milanovic too on the play calling. Like I was watching their game last night actually against the Bombers, and some of the stuff they're doing on offense was really innovative in my opinion. But they're buzzing right now on offense with Taylor Powell. We saw it firsthand. We got a taste of that, and then the Bombers got a taste of that too. And JB scoring again. Tim White's on this big heater. He's probably maybe the most underrated star receiver in the CFL at this point, but. They kind of control their own destiny too in terms of they're right there for that home playoff game with Montreal, and yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do against the Argos. I imagine next week the Argos though they're going to want to be full right. Go against Winnipeg, right, and kind of make a statement there. It's a Grey Cup rematch too. It'll be a lot pretty hostile game I imagine for next week.
And that's pretty much you figure that's going to be a sellout at IG Field. I think I read that they're a few hundred shy already.
Well, I think Edmonton too this week is going to it'll be a big crowd. No,
I sure hope so. Yep. It's good for the league when Edmonton has a strong fan support. They always have had a strong fan support. That never wavered. It's just the support at the gate, obviously, with the recent home losing streak.
Winning helps.
And they have a home winning. We're trying to break a home winning streak in Edmonton. Who would have thought it?
Would be a shame if it did get.
Looking forward to it. Lions can lock down the playoff berth. September 29th, our Orange Shirt Day game. Head to bclions.com/Orange Shirt Day. For ticket info, starting at just $25. Our website, our YouTube channel has all the great content. We shot some interviews with Dane Evans and some key sponsors. That's a week from Friday, and we'll see you on the plane, Nick. It was good recapping this crazy last few days.
Yeah, a lot of fun on Saturday. It's what makes the Canadian game so good in this league. So much fun to be a part of, and see what we can do in the near future.
All right, it's never over till it's over. First and Now is your official BC Lions podcast.